Welcome, Army fans. This is Joe Iacano with GoBlackKnights.com, along with former standout Army wide receiver Aaron Alexander. In his playing days, Aaron was listed at 6'6", 199. He played in 32 games at Army from 2002 to 2004, caught 137 passes, and get this, Army fans, for 1,820 yards for an Army receiver, which you don't see too often these days, and 12 touchdowns. So, Aaron, how you doing today?
Doing well, feeling great. Yourself?
Good. I'm doing great too. So tell us, since you graduated in 2005, what you've been up to, where you're living now, and kind of what you've been doing since graduation.
No problem. First of all, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure talking with you guys today. But post graduation, I joined the football artillery, or field artillery branch, and went out to lovely Fort Sill, Oklahoma. After I got out of the Army, I started my civilian career working in CPG, in consumer goods, effectively. I started off in Cincinnati, Ohio. I started working for Procter & Gamble, worked in supply chain and procurement, and I've effectively been in the world of procurement ever since. I've worked at L'Oreal, DAP Products, RPM International. Now I'm currently, I live in Baltimore, but my office is technically in Chicago. I work for Reynolds Consumer Products. I head up our procurement group for our plastic commodities and direct materials. So essentially, my organization is responsible for buying all of the raw materials and key ingredients that go into the production of our hefty waste and food storage bags. Been there about 4 years, having fun, having a blast. I love what I do, and it's engaging.
Good stuff. It's funny. The Procter & Gamble is kind of like it's almost like a government contractor. I know so many ex-Army guys and grads who work
Sure.
for P&G, and no, that's cool. My wife and I use a lot of the hefty storage bags, so
Use more.
Big fans of your product. So.
Use more.
We'll do. We'll try. I got to eat more, which I can't do at my age. That's a problem. So it's funny too. I'm actually, my day job, I'm actually a sales guy. So you procurement guys love seeing us show up. So
sure. Hey, pull out the card.
Always a good time. So Aaron, talking about your playing days, the teams you played for at Army had a pretty balanced attack. You started under Todd Berry with the West Coast offense. And then in 2005, when head coach Bobby Ross took over, you guys transitioned to more of a pro style two-back or I formation balanced attack. And in addition to your prowess at wide receiver, you played alongside some really good Army running backs and Carlton Jones and Tyler Robinson. Now your best game statistically was in 2003 against Tulane, when you caught 12 passes for 145 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, it was a home game, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so pretty impressive for any offense. I know, all of us associated with West Point would like to forget the 2003 season in general, but
I forgot 2003 as a year in general. So
tell me what you remember about that game specifically.
Nothing.
Good. See, Army fans, I want you to listen. This is why Aaron was such a good wide receiver. Just like Peyton Manning, throw an interception, go back out, play the next play. The interception never happened, right?
It never happened. That whole year never happened. But that was a pretty cool game. I mean, it was a rough year, but that was a pretty cool game. Double fold. You obviously want to perform well whenever you go out there, but the added bonus for me is I'm from Louisiana. I'm from the New Orleans area,
right?
So there were several folks on that team that I not only knew, but I played with in high school.
Okay.
That was pretty cool to be able to not only play against them, but to perform that way. So gives you a little added bragging rights when you go home for the holidays. And times like now when we go home and we always reminisce, and we always talk about how much better we were in our memory than we actually were. We can trash talk a little bit.
Absolutely. The further I get away from my sports career, the better.
The better you get.
Yeah. I know how that works. So, one of the one of the best receptions we've seen from any Army wide receiver was your circus catch against South Florida in 2004, when you used every inch of your 6'6" frame to stretch out and make an ESPN top 10 type of play there. And that was also the game when Army broke the losing streak that started in 2002, and you guys upset USF. So tell me what you remember about that catch in that game specifically.
The crazy part, what I remember about that game is, I mean, CJ had 5 rushing touchdowns or something
Yeah.
ridiculous. That's what I remember from the game. Just like, holy shit, no one can stop this guy.
Yeah.
So that's, quite frankly, yeah, I remember the catch, but what I remember is, man, CJ's on one today. Keep giving him the ball.
That's when I was like, wow, Army's got a really good running back. It was memorable. He just, like, USF would go down and score, and he'd just come right back down the field and match them. And then, you guys ended up going ahead late. And then I just remember the whole Corps of Cadets taking the goalposts down to Lusk Reservoir. I don't think that's ever happened in the history of Mikey before or after.
Yeah, I got to imagine that the Academy doesn't want that to happen again.
No, especially as much as they're spending on the new stadium. So Aaron, when you look back on your playing days, probably what are the top 2 or 3 moments maybe that stick out to you the most now?
Army Navy's always gonna stick out, and it sucks. We won my freshman year, which I missed most of the freshman season because I broke my jaw, but I dressed for Army Navy, so that was kind of cool. It was definitely cool being there, but every Army Navy, you remember it.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, going out senior year, that's always it's your last game. So I mean, that's gonna be burned in your memory whether you win or you lose. Unfortunately, we caught an L that day, so that's definitely burned in my brain. I live in Maryland. I live in Baltimore now, so
right.
This is effectively
surrounded by squids.
When you hear people say, go Navy, I can't even finish it. When you hear them say it, it's like, wait, you're saying it wrong.
You're right. You got it backwards.
You got it backwards, kid. Those type of things, I'm always thinking about that game. It's like, man, my last game playing against them, we lost. So unfortunately, that's one of the memories. I do think about that South Florida game because I mean that was a really good game for us during a not so great streak.
Right.
And honestly, I think a lot about freshman year. I think about freshman year, coming from Frederick and going into preseason and it's like, holy shit, this is college football. We're not in high school anymore.
Right.
And looking up to, some of the players then, Ayers Como, Brian Bruinson, at the time, Anthony Miller, aka Biggles, rest in peace. Just being around those guys and learning and trying to take whatever I can from them and trying to develop my game. Those are some of like the key things that I think about when I think back on Army football. And of course, Tucker Wall. Tucker Wall was my receiver coach when I was playing.
Oh wow!
And it's great, to see him still around.
Yeah, he's awesome.
I think he left for a year or two. I don't remember how many years after when I left.
Yeah.
And it was funny. I ran into I was up in Buffalo for a workout with the Bills, and a couple of the guys that were out there, they're like, Aaron Alexander, you played at Army. It's like, was Coach Wall your coach also? Because he was, at their school. And I was like, yeah. He's like, man, he talked about you all the time, So that was kind of cool to have that connection out there. But Tucker Wall is a special guy, complex guy, but special guy.
Absolutely, he's awesome. Have you had a chance to talk to him recently? You know how he's doing?
I haven't seen him in a while. We pass messages back and forth online every now and again, but I haven't seen him, face to face in a couple years.
Yeah, he's a great guy. Always been super kind to us in the media, and just great guy to talk with. Coach Monken thinks extremely highly of him, obviously, so really cool guy. You hit on something. I was actually going to ask this question later in the interview, but since you hit on it, I'll kind of get to it now. Talked about that you had a workout with the Bills. With the new policy, currently there's 5 Army grads that are either on NFL rosters or practice
Yeah,
squads.
I saw we had a couple. I saw what the Jaguars, the D lineman got invited to minicamp for the Jags, and I saw a few others.
So Andre Carter got picked up as an undrafted free agent with the Vikings,
Yep,
right?
saw that.
That's probably the most famous one because a lot of people thought he was going to get drafted. It was kind of a bummer that he didn't, but it was super cool that the Vikings are really weak on pass rushers, so a lot of people think he has a good chance of making the team. Marquell Broughton, who was our captain last year on defense, got an opportunity to he got invited to the Broncos mini camp, and then you mentioned Kwabena Bonsu got invited to the Jaguars mini camp as well. So, if they had the policy that they have in place now, when you and
I would have
Carl
been in the Hall of Fame.
I was like, that's what I was thinking. Like you and Carlton Jones would have been like all over TV, man. I would have been
Honestly, I try not to even think about that. I'm excited for the guys now to get the opportunity, and I'm 100% supportive of them being able to maximize their potential and explore that opportunity. I mean, because that's not an easy club to get into. I've got several friends that have played in the league, and I've watched their journey and the work required to not only get there but to maintain. And that's not an easy club to get into. So I say if they can get into it, I think we should be fully supportive of their mission and their purpose.
100% agree with you. Clearly, probably the West Point player who got the most notoriety in the NFL, had a really successful career even after his 5-year Army commitment, was offensive lineman Alejandro Villanueva, who was super successful with the Steelers and the Ravens, multiple-time All-Pro. It's funny, and I interviewed Ali when he was with the Ravens last year or the year before. And I saw a picture of him recently, and he's back down to like his wide receiver weight already, which is crazy to me how you guys can drop so much weight so fast. But talking about Andre and John Radigan, who's gotten some good playing time with the Seahawks, especially on special teams. If Andre does make it with the Vikings and he's able to play on Sundays and Monday nights, talk to the fan base a little bit about, because I'm fully in support of this too, what that kind of positive publicity and recognition gives to the academy and how that really, in my opinion, helps the overall mission of the academy.
I think when you can take someone that's gone through what we go through at the academy and you can put them on a stage like that to show that, graduates of the academy, we're incredibly multifaceted. And I think it takes all types to be great leaders. There's no one type of great leader. They're built up of all these different, leadership characteristics and skill sets and abilities. And I think that's another one to showcase as, no one goes to Army, no one goes to West Point thinking, man, I'm going to the NFL.
Right.
But if you can develop, if you can grow, if you can, harness your skill set and put yourself in that position, I just think it's a great, almost like a beacon of light, a flagship, something to aspire to for other, ball players that they may be questioning going to a military academy. But there's only really one military academy, but they may be questioning whether they want to come to West Point or not. But they do have these dreams of, if I'm good enough, is it a possibility? I just think it opens the floodgate for almost a different feed stream, a different pipeline of potential, cadets, candidates to come into the military academy to be a great leader and then ultimately go into the Army. I just think I don't think it takes away from the quality of person that we can get. I think it just adds a completely different dynamic to the type of person that we can bring into the academy and into the pipeline. And I think it's great. I think it's great from a advertising, from a marketing standpoint. I think that shines a brighter light on the academy. I don't see a negative, honestly. I don't see, the drawback from allowing, cadets, to be able to explore that lane, explore that option.
Right. I 100% agree with you, Aaron. And I think, how many times do you hear the story? And you probably have classmates and teammates who are like this, that maybe they came to the academy just because they wanted to play D1 football and they didn't have any other D1 football offers. They were good students, and that maybe played a part in it too. But then they get there and they really like the Army, and they end up becoming colonels and general officers. And we never would have got that person had it not been for the publicity and the success of the football program.
Agreed.
Right?
Wholeheartedly agree.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So speaking of that, kind of last question on your playing days, which of your teammates do you keep in touch with on a regular basis? Do you guys have meetups or meet up at games, or just have like a group chat on text?
We got a lot of group chats going.
Nice.
We've got a lot of group chats going. I haven't been in a while, but I don't think anyone does it kind of in my grad year range. I don't know if anyone does it as well as that class of call it 06.
Okay.
But my class 05, and we were at one point doing a really good job of getting back to the golf tournament in the summertime. I haven't been in a while, so I can't say who attends and who doesn't. But I know that class of 06, they do a really good job of staying.
They're all over it, huh?
Oh yeah, they're all over it.
Who's was Carlton class 06 or?
Oh yeah. They're the following class: Carlton,
yeah.
TJ, Scott Wesley, Bruce, Murph, all those guys.
Okay, cool. Well, that's awesome. So switching gears now to, modern day Army football. The program's really been in a renaissance since Coach Monken took over the reins in 2014. He's already the second winningest coach in Army history. Team's done things the past 9 seasons that a lot of people, maybe even myself at times, didn't think they could do. And a lot of people thought it was kind of an impossibility in 21st century college football with NIL and transfer portal and all the crazy stuff we have going on now. You mentioned you haven't been able to make it back to a ton of games, but how closely have you been following the program? And, have you been able to get to any games over the last couple of years? I don't know, maybe Army Navy in Baltimore a couple of years ago.
Oh yeah. I was end zone row 1 through 3 going back and forth. When Army Navy was in Baltimore, I was most definitely there. And I typically get to Philly almost every year from an Army Navy standpoint. Haven't caught many regular season games, just been work life, family life.
Doing life, right?
Yeah, well, I got 3 young kids.
It's funny, now that I'm older, I have more time for Army football, but when I was in my 30s and 40s, it was like, oh God, right?
Look, I got a 9, a 7, and then a 1-year-old. I mean, so it's it's quite difficult. But honestly, this year, week 1 they've got ULM, I believe.
They got 2 games in Louisiana this year.
I'm going to that LSU game. That's already. I already told my wife that's on the calendar. I don't want to hear you have something planned for that weekend. There's no family event that I'm gone that weekend, so I'll be down in Baton Rouge for that one. That's too close to home.
Yeah, I have a classmate of mine who lives in Baton Rouge area, and he's a huge Army fan, huge LSU fan. Both his sons are at the academy now. One of them's trying to make the team as a D-back, actually.
Okay.
And we're doing like a big, huge mini reunion down there, which is funny because it's like 2 weeks after our actual 30th reunion. So that'll be a good time. So, as a former player, kind of give us your assessment on the current status of the program and where it is and really where it's come the last 9 years.
So let me put my wide receiver hat on. Throw the ball more.
Well, I think you're going to be happy this year. Not going to chuck it all over the field, but you'll be happier. So.
Yeah, which I love to see. But I mean, honestly, Coach Monken's done a good job of not only implementing his program, but knowing the players that he has and making sure that he's got the right people in the right places from a positioning standpoint to be able to move the way he's been able to move. And I mean, he's done like you said, he's the second winningest coach already in school history. I mean, I think he's done a phenomenal job. And the team can only get better. The team can only improve. I mean, there's some players that are coming in, and again, this is probably the beauty of being able to look back of when you were there versus where the team is now, and you see some of these kids coming in, and it's like, holy, like. These guys look ready to play, and you see the work that they're putting in. you can reach back and talk to some of the folks that are still close around the organization, and they say the same thing about all the work that not only the coaches are putting in, but the players are putting in, and again, sharpening that iron, sharpening that blade, continuing to get better and get better, still while having to tackle the everyday task of being
right.
these guys, and what that's like. So I mean, it's just impressive to see these guys continuing to push the envelope further and further and better in the program. So I'm definitely excited about what they've done, and even more excited about what's to come.
Yeah, and you talked about throwing the ball more, which kind of gets into my next topic, right? So I've had the opportunity to speak with Coach Monk and Coach Drinkle and Coach Thatcher, all of them in the offseason and spring practice. It was funny, Coach Drinkle kind of mentioned what you had mentioned, that there was an offensive lineman who graduated a couple of years ago, and he came back and he was looking at all the OLs in spring practice, and he was like, I don't think I could start on this line. Like he said, they're going to average over 300 pounds on the OL this year.
No, I can still start. Now, I'm not saying that.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, can you start at your current age? That's the question.
Look, if T.O. can make this push to try and get back into the league, I got a good series left in me.
You're feeling good.
I do not have an entire game, because the first time I get hit in the ribs, I'm probably going, hey, coach.
That'll be it. Sub me out.
It's time to come out.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think Coach Monken made what I thought was a pretty courageous leadership decision, actually, this offseason on the offensive side of the ball, where he made some substantial changes, bringing in new OC Drew Thatcher, promoting Matt Drinkle to co-OC, and abandoning the under center flex bone offense that he's run pretty much his entire career for the new gun triple. To kind of take advantage of, or adapt more to the new rules around cut blocking and everything else that's really been hampering his offense over the last couple of years. Army's going to remain a physical run first offense, so I'm not sure the changes will be as substantial as most people are thinking they are. But as a former wide receiver, what are your thoughts about what you've heard about the new offense and, Coach Monken's decision to make a change after all these years?
I mean, honestly, once you start off and say they're going to be throwing the ball more, I mean, look, I'm a receiver. I'm always open. No matter the play, I'm open. I'm coming back to the huddle and I'm telling the quarterback, dude, I was wide open. I could have been in double coverage. I'm wide open. So whenever you're talking about throwing the ball more, spreading it out, I'm going to be excited. When you do that, you can open the field up a bit more, and the running backs, those that have a little wiggle in their skill set, they get to play with the field a bit more. Those gaps get a little wider. I'm excited, man. Honestly, there's no reason to doubt what Monken has done so far. I mean, if you just look at the progress he's made, I mean, if he thinks this is the best, if he thinks this is the best strategy to continue to push the program forward, I mean, who am I to say different? I mean,
yeah, I completely agree with you. I'm a in Monken I trust guy, and he's definitely earned the credibility over the past 9 years. And you made a comment earlier that Coach Drinkle and Coach Thatcher echoed to me that one of the things this new offense will do is make sure they have the best 11 players on the field that they can at all times. In fact, all offensive linemen are getting snapped at center, which is wild to me. Usually the center position's like locked down, but because they're in gun now, they can put anybody they want at center, apparently. So
wow.
That's interesting. So, as a former wide receiver, I got to ask you, I know you're following the program relatively closely. What are your thoughts on current Army wide receiver Isaiah Alston, who a lot of people think has potential to play at the next level? Had a huge game against Wake Forest last year in Mikey Stadium against some guys who are playing in the NFL right now. From what you've seen with Alston and his physical tools, his catching ability, his height and weight and everything else, how do you like him?
I like his chance as long as he continues to, again, refine his skill set. I mean, he's definitely got a chance. I mean, you can look at receivers at the next level. I mean, you've got everyone from, think about the build of a Megatron,
right?
Someone like T.O. to your Smith and your Deshaun why am I drawing a blank? Yeah, the receiver that was in Philly, Deshaun Jackson.
I mean, Devontae Smith. The kid from
No,
Alabama?
he's done. He's
Oh,
done.
Deshaun Jackson. I know.
Yeah, Deshaun Jackson.
Okay.
I mean that's those guys don't look the same.
Yeah.
I mean,
Right.
so there's no one, you know, type, and there's no one shape, there's no one mold that you have to be in order to be a receiver. And neither one of those guys look, if you go back, look the way Jerry Rice looked when he was playing.
Right.
They come in all shapes, sizes, and forms, but you know, you have to bring something to the table. You know, is it your route running? Is it your ability to go up and get a ball? Is it your speed? Is it your ability to block when they need you to?
Right.
Is it your ability to be able to adapt and audible on the fly and be able to, you know, read a defense and help pick that apart? You've got to bring something to the table that is unique and that is a high skill. I mean, your size. I mean, your size is your size. You can't grow. You can put on more muscle. You can work on your speed, but you know you can't change who you are from a height standpoint or a size for that matter. I mean, you got to play to your strengths, and wherever you have a weakness, you got to work to develop it.
Absolutely. Great analysis there. So last question for you, Aaron, kind of a fun one. I know you said you have a 9, a 7, and a 1-year-old. So not sure if the 9 and 7-year-old are boys or girls.
The 9 and 7 are girls. I was
Okay.
full-fledged girls.
So what are they playing any sports? You coaching them in anything? What's the deal there?
No, I don't think I would be a good coach. I don't plan on coaching anything.
Okay, good stuff.
For the girls, I'm the dance dad. I'm cheering from. They both do ballet, and then my youngest daughter, she does gymnastics. So
okay,
I'm supporting from the sideline.
Oh man, you're the only guy in a 4-woman household. That's good stuff.
Well, no more. My son is 1, so it's 3.
Oh, your son's 1. Okay,
yeah, my son's 1. I mean, he doesn't count though. He's just looking for mama.
He's still trying to eat.
Yeah, he's still trying to eat.
That's good stuff. Well, hey, thanks a lot, Aaron. We really appreciate your time today. I know you're a busy corporate professional, like I pretend to be. So thank you very, very much for your time. Have a great day. And Army fans, again, this has been Joe Iacano along with Aaron Alexander, former Army wide receiver. Go Army, beat Navy.